Hello, well, welcome. This is Wednesday, so happy Wellness Wednesday. Today, I am going to be talking about parasites. So, this is Julie with Balanced Life with Julie. I'm a regenerative health practitioner and a holistic nutritionist, and I get a lot of questions about parasites. And in fact, this video is inspired by somebody who made a comment and was like, why doesn't she just tell me how to parasite cleanse? So the number one reason that I don't just, although mind you, in this video, I'm going to share with you the program that I think is the best place for anyone to start because it covers dietary changes, it covers gut health, it covers the initial kind of beginning of heavy metal detox, and it covers some parasite cleansing. So there is a process, right? And it's really important to respect the process because if you don't, you can get yourself in a world of trouble, especially when it comes to parasite cleansing. So, a couple of years ago, I actually ran a program, a cohort, and I had somebody in that program who had been on anti-parasitic herbs for months and months and months, and her body was still flushing parasites. She was never advised to change her diet. So she was eating the very foods that were encouraging parasites within her body. So, of course, as she kept replenishing the parasites in her system, she was continuously flushing them out as well. Oh, today's video is going to be super interesting because the sun is turning. And so here are the steps of parasite cleansing. First, it's very, very important to change your diet. You must be 100% plant-based. Why? Because a lot of the foods that encourage parasites in our body are animal foods. Not to say that you can't ever get parasites from a plant-based foods. I think actually I don't want the sun to do weird things, so let me just shut the blinds for a second. And I'm back. Yeah, the sun was doing some weird glare thing. Okay, so I so love the sun too, though. Hang on one second. Take two. I'm just trying to figure out. This is the beauty of live video is you get to experience the real stuff. Okay, yeah, I figured out which blind it was. So one of the blinds is doing weird things with the light, the other one isn't. Okay, so yeah, not to say that plant-based foods like fruits and veggies can never have parasites. This is why it's very important to properly wash your fruits and vegetables. But assuming that you properly wash your fruits and vegetables, then there is far less risk of getting parasites from fruits and vegetables. But something like raw milk, the chances of getting parasites from raw milk are 100%. So every time I hear people talking about the benefits of raw milk, all I can think is parasites. Same thing with fish. Even though that there are some precautions that are taken, the chances of getting parasites from fish and from animal products in general, especially pork, are very, very high. So dietary change first is a must. The second thing is you have to make sure that your elimination pathways are open. That means that you are going number 2 several times a day. If you're eating 3 meals a day, you probably ought to be pooping 3 times a day. And if that is not happening, then you do not want to be doing a parasite cleanse. Why? Because the anti-parasitic herbs are like, if you're getting all of these parasites to try to flush them out, and all you do is you get them all stirred up, but you can't go to the bathroom, they're going to stay in your system, and it's actually going to be very, very uncomfortable. So first, diet change. Second, elimination pathways must be open. Number 3 is starting to address heavy metals because parasites feed on heavy metals. And this is why if you're properly changing your diet to begin with, meaning that you're going to start eating more alkalizing foods, you're going to have more greens in your diet, that's going to naturally start to pull on the heavy metals and start to flush them out of your system. So when I have people do a parasite cleanse, we generally don't start until the end of month 1. And that's on purpose because that gives us a full 20 to 21 days of prep time, meaning that we're changing the diet, we're addressing gut health, we're addressing the elimination pathways, we're making sure that the body is properly prepared. Because if you just choose to dive into a parasite cleanse without any prep, you don't change your diet, it's not going to be fun, and you're going to be really, really uncomfortable. Because especially if you're not going to the bathroom, because what can happen is you can just get more and more backed up, and it's not pleasant. So all I can say is, in all my years, I've been doing this now for 8 years, going on 9 years, I've never, ever, ever had anyone have bad reactions to parasite cleansing because we did the prep work beforehand. Now, the other thing I want to share is that absolutely everyone has parasites. Nobody doesn't. If you have an autoimmune condition, or you're dealing with cancer or some other chronic illness, you definitely have parasites. Why? Because when disease manifests in the body, it means that your system has a lot of lymphatic stagnation. Two things are always a given in every single chronic illness. That is that the lymph system is backed up and that you have gut issues. And so with the lymph system, so we have two systems in our body, right? We have our blood, which brings oxygen and nutrients to our cells and tissues. And then we have our lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system is responsible for taking out the trash in our body. So think of it as a sewer system. And when the lymphatic system starts to back up, it's backing up due to poor diet and lifestyle, too much chemical toxicity and heavy metal toxicity within the body. And so think of it this way. It's like you if it's like someone is going to the bathroom, but they never flush the toilet. And so what ends up happening, those things start to back up into the blood system. So what your body will always tell you right off the bat is it will start to give you symptoms. And usually when people start to experience symptoms in their body, what do? They ignore the symptoms. They pretend that they're not feeling, the aches and the pains and the fatigue and the subtle things. And then what happens with our body is, if we don't start to pay attention to the little signs, it'll start to give bigger and bigger signs. Now, what happens when our lymphatic system really backs up, that's when we start to see imbalances within the blood. So blood only makes up 20% of the fluids in our body. 80% of the fluids in our body is our lymphatic system. So that in itself ought to give you an indication of how important detoxification is. Now, a lot of people really worry themselves about what to eat, and you ought to be concerned about what to eat. Unfortunately, most people eat a diet that isn't proper for our species. So, fast food, processed foods, tons of meat and dairy, all of these things are foods, so quote unquote foods, that our body is not designed for. And so what ends up happening is that because we're eating a highly unnatural diet, all of those things that we're putting into our system, our body can't break them down. It takes up a lot of digestive energy, which means it takes up a lot of your energy. And then because our body can't properly deal with them, a lot of those things actually end up getting stored in fat cells and cells and tissues, and creating that lymphatic stagnation within the body. Because if the body doesn't know what to do with it, if it can eliminate it, if it cannot eliminate it, it will store it. And generally it gets stored as fat. And so what we want to do before parasite cleansing is dietary change is an absolute must. And you want to be eating foods that are very hydrating, that are very alkalizing. The number one thing that I recommend people do is start to consume more fruit, especially the citrus fruits, melons. those things are those foods are very, very astringent. And what they will start to do is they will move the lymph. Have you ever noticed that if you have, say, watermelon juice or watermelon, that you have the urge to go to the bathroom pretty quickly soon after? That's because watermelon is so astringent, it starts to pull stuff out of the cells and tissues. And that's what you want. You want to be able to flush the garbage out of your system. So generally, what I like to do with people is we take a full 3 weeks to go 100% plant-based, high fruit, ideally as raw as possible. But then again, it really depends on the person. And this is why it's so difficult. Like, I love using my YouTube channel for education and to share information, but everybody's case is so different, right? So let's say somebody has multiple autoimmune conditions and they're on a whole bunch of different medications. Like, the way to get them to parasite cleanse is going to be very different from somebody who is healthy, has no obvious signs of illness, it has a very clean diet. Like someone who is, say, 100% whole food plant-based, they're going to be at a very different starting point when it comes to parasite cleansing than somebody who is, on a SAD diet, the standard American diet. And it really is a SAD diet because it usually leads to standard American diseases, standard American diagnoses, standard American drugs, and generally an early standard American death, unfortunately. I think, unfortunately, to this day, right now, as I record this video, most people don't understand that 95% of illness is related to poor diet and lifestyle. And if you just are willing to change your diet and lifestyle, your body can get healthy. I'm living testament to that, right? I was dealing with depression, with gut issues, with Hashimoto's, with thyroid problems, with all of these quote unquote issues, and I was medicated for them until I clued in and I was like, wait a minute, I'm taking these pills every single day and I'm not feeling better. I'm not getting better. Why am I taking these pills? And that was like, if you haven't been on my channel, you haven't seen my other videos, that was when I started my quest to figure out, like, how can I actually get my body healthy? And on this journey, I've realized that yes, the body can heal itself, but in order to heal itself, you have to create the proper conditions. So someone asked, did I slowly come off thyroid medication or just stop? No, I slowly titrated down and it was a whole process. The exact program I'm going to recommend to you in this video is the exact program that I did for 6 months back to back, and it addressed my diet, gut health, parasites. I did that program for 6 months continuously. And by the end of the 6 months, I was able to come off the thyroid meds. So if you are on medication, by no means should you ever just stop taking it. You need to be working with whoever prescribed that medication to you. You need to work closely with that doctor or naturopath, if you're working with a naturopath, and have a conversation of like, hey, I really want to get my body healthy. And I would like to see if, as I make dietary changes, is it possible for my dosage for whatever medication to come down? Can you support me in that? Now, if they genuinely care about your health, they're going to say, yes, of course, I will support you on your quest to get healthy. I can tell you, back in January of 2018, I went to my naturopath and I had that exact conversation. I said to her, I know the meds aren't really working. I don't feel any better. I want to make diet and lifestyle changes. Can you help me figure out how to slowly titrate off my medications? And what happened was, I made a whole bunch of dietary changes. At that time, I had studied holistic nutrition, so I did not know what I know now in regenerative health. But it's like I went on the crazy ride for you so that I could learn all this information, apply it to myself, and now I get to share it with others so that hopefully they apply it to themselves and they get healthy. Because I can tell you, I've lived in a sick body. I live in a healthy body. I can tell you, life is 10,000 times sweeter living in a healthy body. There is no food, no alcohol, no drug I regret no longer taking, because I love waking up in the morning and not having aches and pains. I love the fact that I'm my ideal weight and that I'm not trucking around extra pounds on my body, messing up my joints in the process. And I love the fact that I'm not depressed anymore. So all of these things are very good benefits, side benefits to getting your health back on track. And so what happened with that naturopath was, this was back in 2018. I made a whole bunch of diet changes. We were able to slowly titrate down a little bit. And then I hit a wall. And this is why I'm talking to you guys about detoxification, because it is not just about nutrition. Food alone food is only part of the puzzle. Yes, we have to be mindful of, I've done other videos on this channel about what kind of foods you want to be eating. So make sure that you watch those other videos. But food is only part of the equation. So yes, we want to eat food that is natural to our human design. Yes, we want to eat foods that are actually micronutrient dense and supportive and give our body the nutrients and the micronutrients that our body needs. But detoxification is a very big part of the puzzle. And this is where most people have done nothing in terms of detoxification. So if you have never, ever, ever done a proper detox protocol, then chances are your body is holding on to decades and probably holding on to stuff from when you were a baby. And that stuff needs to be released. And if you do not get those toxins, chemicals and heavy metals and parasites out of your system, that's why when people get into their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they start to feel all of the effects of not only a not great diet and lifestyle, but also decades of accumulated waste in their body, right? And so I hit a wall for an entire year. That was when I started researching gut health, glyphosate, parasites, detoxification. And the program that, it's not going to be listed once I'm done this live, but once this video gets posted, there's going to be a link for something called the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. And it actually is literally the ultimate lifestyle transformation. When I think back on my own health journey and the health struggles that I faced for most of my life, I dealt with depression. Like ever since I was a kid, I dealt with depression and gut issues. And now as a practitioner, as I think back to the multiple rounds of antibiotics I had at various points in my life, when I think back to the kinds of foods that I used to eat, it makes sense of why I was dealing with certain issues. But then when I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, with the information that I have now, like when someone tells me what their diagnosis is, well, first of all, if you have a diagnosis of anything, you definitely have parasites. You just do, because parasites thrive in an environment that is highly acidic and is very, very stagnant. Now, how do we know that our body is acidic and stagnant? Because there is the manifestation of disease. If your body was in the state that it's supposed to be, which is hydrated and alkaline, then there would be no disease state. But what happens is when we have parasites in our body, what the parasites are trying to do, because the body can't break down everything that's accumulated, is the parasites come in to try to break down that which the body can't break down. But in the meantime, they go, you know what? This is a really great spot I found here. Like, check this out. This is the Ritz-Carlton of hangouts. So I'm just going to put up my feet and I'm going to hang out. And that's what they do. They stay and they create problems. They start to feed on your B vitamins and on certain heavy metals, and they grow and they grow and they grow and they grow. And the person who's experiencing, who's whose body they've taken host of, what happens is you start to experience symptoms. So not only is the diagnosis, but you feel tired, maybe brain fog, maybe chronic fatigue, maybe aches in your joints, and all of these things are going on within your body. And if you go to a doctor, you're going to get a diagnosis, they're going to give you medication, but it's going to not do anything to address the underlying cause. So the root cause of all 95% of chronic illness, except for like the 5% that's truly genetic, the 95% of chronic illness is related to poor diet and lifestyle. So if we want to get to the root, we got to address the diet and the lifestyle. So the program that you're going to find underneath this video and on my website, called the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation, what it does is initially you start to change your diet, right? Its work uses superfoods, and superfoods, the reason that I work with superfoods is that they're actually more nutrient dense than anything that anyone is buying in a grocery store or a farmer's market. And this really has to do with the growing practices related to the foods. They're all regeneratively grown. They're dehydrated at low temperatures to preserve the nutrients and the enzymes. And they're packaged in packaging that is made from compostable hemp. So no single-use plastic. A lot of the foods that people are buying are in single-use plastic, and microplastics are a big, big problem for people's health, because what they do is they actually disrupt hormones. They disrupt your endocrine system. So you've got the nourishing greens, which help to change the diet. And you've got the best protein on the planet, which is the super aminos that are in that pack. And you also have something called apothecary, which helps with antioxidant and melatonin. So tart cherries help your body to make its own melatonin, which will actually help with deep, restful sleep. When you get deep, restful sleep, your hormones can balance, and your body is going to recover better. So that's the nutrition side. You've got the greens, the aminos, which is the protein, plus the antioxidants in the tart cherry. So your body needs antioxidants to reduce the inflammation that has built up over years and decades, right? And then on the detox side, we've got Biomedic, which helps remove chemicals and heavy metals from the gut, addresses glyphosate, and starts to seal up the tight junctions of the gut, which is what we want. Everybody is walking around with leaky gut, and they just don't know it, don't understand what it is. And that's also part of the reason why everyone has parasites, because when the tight junctions of your gut come apart, the contents of your gut start to leak into the rest of your body. So that could be undigested food particles, it could be pathogens and parasites, it could be microbes, it could be anything. And if you have an autoimmune condition, or if you're dealing with cancer, or if you're dealing with like autism is one of those things that it's those who are on the spectrum absolutely need to be working on their gut health. And this program actually helps address that. In fact, somebody that I know, she has a grown son who's on the spectrum. It was not very, very high functioning, it was very low functioning. And we put him on the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. And guess what? Now he's communicating better. He's able to have a job. He's able to do things that he was not able to do before. And what changed? We changed his diet. We worked on his gut health, and we really got to the root of what was happening in his body. So Biomedic helps address gut health. It has been clinically tested, third-party validated. It absolutely works. It is the only third-party tested glyphosate solution on the planet. Maybe next week's video, I'll talk about glyphosate, because I've been talking about glyphosate now for 6 years, and most people still have no idea what it is and how damaging it is for their health. And it's something that even if you're eating organic, you're breathing it in, it's getting into your body through your skin, because it's a water-soluble toxin. And you're getting it in your foods if you're not mindful of what you're eating. It's in all GMO products. It's in, I mean, I personally don't drink, but it's in beer, it's in wine and all of those things. And it's prevalent in the environment, and it is very, very damaging for health. So we got the detox side, we got the biomimetic, and then finally there's a parasite cleanse. And with this particular parasite cleanse, you do it in 2 rounds. So there's 10 days in month 1. Near the end of month 1, I like my people to take about 14 days off, and then we do another round in month 2. Now, the cool thing about the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation Program, it is only available in the US and Canada. I should mention that. It's only available in the US and Canada, but it comes right to your doorstep. There are guidelines of like the dietary changes to make as you're prepping for the parasite cleanse. And we have a weekly live support call that happens every single Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I love that because it is included in the program cost. So whatever you pay for the transformation, we do this live call to support the community and make sure that everybody's questions are answered. You get recipes. There's a Facebook support group, which is like, I think 21 or 22,000 members at this point. I don't know. I lost count. It's a lot of people. And there's a recipes Facebook group as well. So there's a lot of support. And I'm going to share this real quick. The sun is going to be like so in my face in like 1 second. Maybe I love the sun, but it's like, hang on, you guys, hang on. Okay. I'll turn it down a dash. So I was in the health food store. There we go. I was in the health food store over the weekend, and I was just looking at their cold pressed juices. And I'm just trying to find a spot. There we go. One of the cold pressed juices, there was a cold pressed juice that was like $9 for like a little 300 milliliter bottle. And there was another one that was like $7 or $8. And then there was one that was $24. So my wonderful other half runs all the errands. So I actually have no idea what things cost because I don't go to stores. When I saw the price of what things are these days, hang on, I'm just going to have to shut this blind once and for all. Anyway, when I saw how much things, I'm just like trying to find, it's fine. I have to, in my office, I'm going to go back to my point, but my office is it faces west, rises. Yeah. And so in the afternoon, I always get the sun, and I love the sun, but it's not great for videos, unfortunately. And because the days are getting shorter and shorter, I have to pay attention to when the sun becomes west facing to do my lives from now on, because doing my live at this time a month ago was no issue, but now the sun has turned. But anyway, I digress. So my other half runs all the errands. And so I had no idea how much certain things cost. And all I can say is the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation per day costs less than what most people are spending their hard-earned dollars on. Hang on. There we go. This is going to be the one spot I'm going to try not to move. So yeah, the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation costs less than what most people are spending on, just, in my personal opinion, just nonsense. Because when you do the transformation, the kit, you're able to swap out 2 meals a day for what is in the transformation kit. And plus you're addressing parasites and you're addressing gut health. So you're actually doing a lot more than what, like, I think I saw that a typical, like, I did a road trip about 1.5 years ago. And I saw that when you go to most fast food restaurants, meals are costing anywhere between, say, $14 to about $18 or $19, and you're just getting junk. It's like absolute trash food that's going to mess up your body, that's going to, you know, be the very cause of disease, which is what I was sharing about the first half of the video, of backing up the lymphatic system and creating problems internally within your body. So why would you want to waste your hard-earned dollars on stuff that is absolute garbage, when for less than that, you could do the lifestyle transformation and completely transform your life, transform your health, be a part of a supportive community where you have live, ongoing, weekly support. And here's the thing, it's done as a 90-day program. But honestly, after the 90 days, if somebody still wanted to come to the live calls and just be a part of the community, it's fine. Like, we want that. Like, I want people to come to these types of calls and have this kind of support. So people love doing tests, and honestly, you don't need to do tests because, sorry, I'm like trying to avoid the sun, because it's irrelevant. What's going to happen is, I've had people come to me with all kinds of blood work. Hang on. There we go. I've found one spot as the sun continues to turn. So a lot of times people come to me with all kinds of tests and blood work and this and that, and they spend so much money on all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, what is the root cause of a lot of problems? 95% of issues are related to poor diet and poor lifestyle. So what this program does is it allows you to simply and easily change over your diet and your lifestyle and address detoxification, working on your gut, and we're addressing parasites. We're getting to the very root. And by giving your body the proper nourishment in the form of the transformation, your body is able to heal itself. And that's the capacity, that's the magic and the power of what the body is able to do. And I can tell you, in my personal experience, so before I started working with this program, I wanted to see, like, hey, is it going to work for me? So I ended up doing the lifestyle transformation. I did it for 6 months solid, back to back, because that was what my body needed in terms of nutritional support, detoxification support, addressing the parasites. So I did it for 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, I was off the thyroid meds. The gut issues were gone. The depression was gone. The aches and the pains were gone. Like, all of these things shifted. And all that happened was that I got to the root, right? The root is that most people are eating a diet that is not nutrient dense, and it's got chemicals and additives and preservatives. And all of those chemicals, that is chemical toxicity that stresses out your liver, stresses out your gut, creates problems for your kidneys. And when your body can't break down those chemicals, it's going to start to store them in fat cells and other places. And over time, those chemicals are going to create problems. Pharmaceuticals are also chemicals, right? So keep that in mind, that if you're on medications, sometimes we need medical intervention and we need medications for a short period of time to just kind of like manage symptoms within the body. But what ends up happening is, if you stay reliant on those medications, if you refuse to address the root causes of what is creating the imbalance within the body, what is creating the disease state within the body, what is going to happen is that those chemicals are going to start to damage the liver, the gut, the kidneys, and it's going to create other problems, not to mention that if you do not address the root causes of what's creating the problem in your body to begin with, and you continue to eat the toxic diet and live the toxic lifestyle that's creating the foundation for disease, what ends up happening is you'll end up with another condition and another condition and another condition. Like, how else is it possible that somebody has like type 2 diabetes and Hashimoto's and fibromyalgia and like all of these things at the same time? It's because they never got to the root of the problem. And because they didn't change their diet and their lifestyle, because they didn't detox, they didn't address the parasites, and they kept up with those poor habits, the body creates more and more disease. What does that mean? It means the lymphatic system is getting more and more backed up, and there are more parasites within the body. There's more, stagnation. And so the body just like the disease is what happens as a result. And it's not that someone is a victim, it's that the only thing that somebody is a victim of when it comes to disease, unfortunately, is they are a victim of a poor diet and lifestyle and just not understanding how their body works. And so part of what I try to do on this channel is to explain and educate. I'm laughing because the sun is like, I'm giving up on the sun. Sun, I love you. And so it really saddens me that so few people understand how their body actually works. And so they continue to put things into their body that are creating the illness, that are creating the disease. And unfortunately, this is prevalent throughout our society. It is totally prevalent. All you have to do is walk out your front door and you're going to be very hard pressed to find somebody who is truly metabolically healthy. And I mean, if I think about in our little half block here, between, we're almost on the corner of the street to like, there's just a few houses here, pretty much, except for our household, every single person on this block has some kind of health issue. Every single person on this side of the street and on the other side of the street, and it's really sad. It's really sad. And a lot of people where we live, they know how health conscious we are. They know our diet and lifestyle, and yet they don't even want to learn. They don't even want to learn how their body operates. They don't even want to learn, like, hey, how can I feel better? How can I get off these medications? How can I have vitality? Like, it's truly just hiding from the sun. It's truly the saddest thing ever, in this day and age of in this age of information, ignorance truly is a choice. It really is a decision. And unfortunately, one of the things that I've come to realize is that some people are so addicted to a poor diet and lifestyle that they overlook and ignore the fact that it is their very diet and lifestyle that is slowly killing them one bite at a time. So anyway, I talk longer than I thought I would, but there is for the people who want a simple parasite cleanse, I would say do the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. We have a weekly support group. There's a Facebook support group. You get recipes, you get lots of information, and that will go live on this video or underneath this video, most likely probably tomorrow or maybe the next day. Or you can always just go to my website, balancelifewithjulie.com. The transformation is listed. You're more than welcome to get it. It really is the ultimate. If I think back on my own health journey, that was the turning point. That was the thing that drastically changed my life into a positive trajectory and really gave me my life back. And I still use the superfoods every single day. I still do at least one of the green shakes, and I usually do the dark berry protein with super meal LOV. I swear by them because as far as I'm concerned, it is more nutrient dense and cleaner nutrition than anything that's sold in a grocery store. And I will not disrespect my body by buying stuff in a grocery store that I know is, I don't know where they grew their food. I know that it's, if it's not organic, it's GMO. And so I would rather give my body the best food possible at all times. And I'm also lucky that we've got a friend who's a regenerative farmer, so we tend to buy some things from him as well. I do my absolute best to buy as little from a grocery store as possible because so little of what they sell is actually quality. And because everybody's been trained so well to go to a grocery store or to go to restaurants and to get takeout and to do all these things, people have been trained so well, but very few people are asking, where is this food coming from? How is it grown? Is there actually any nutrition in here? But those are the questions that I always ask. And for me, it's like, if it's not the best quality, I don't waste my money on it. That's how I am, because I respect my body. I love my body. I love myself enough to take care of it, because this is the only place I have to live, right? It's not my home. My house is not where I live. My body is where I live. And if my body is not healthy, then life is not fun. And I like my life to be a lot of fun. So anyway, hope you found value in this video. Hope you get a kick out of the sunlight and my dance with the sun all throughout this video. Now I know that on Wednesdays, if I want to go live on YouTube, I have to go live earlier in the day. So Mama needed to learn that lesson. So yeah, if you're catching this video on the replay and you have questions, please pop your questions into the comments. I do respond to comments. Yeah, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you know anybody else who could get value from this video, please send them the video. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of my online community. Thank you to Nicoletta, who watched live this video. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you. I'm actually going to do a live next Wednesday, and I'm going to probably do it a little bit earlier in the day, maybe like 12:30 is what I'll plan for, so that I'm not dancing with the sun. And I'll make a note to actually talk about glyphosate next week and share why my wish. I actually, real quick before I sign off, I was at a conference in July, and we had a woman who really did the expose on Monsanto and glyphosate. And what she shared with us at that conference, like, you could hear a pin drop in that room. And unfortunately, there's so much that people just really still don't understand about what is going on in the food system and the healthcare system and all of these different systems, and how they're not designed for our benefit. I'll put it to you that way. So I'm going to talk about glyphosate next week. And thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the community. And I will see you next week. Bye for now.